In our fast-paced world, the classics are often overlooked, but their relevance is more critical than ever in our rapidly evolving technological landscape. Join me as we uncover ancient wisdom to navigate the challenges of today and tomorrow. How would you feel now that I tell you that the introduction you have just heard did not originate from a human mind, but instead from AI? These words are the product of technological advancement brought into fruition before your very eyes. And frankly, it's not the best. Here's a more authentic one written by me. The classical world in this age is often cast aside and regarded as little more than a crumbling ruin, dead. However, its relevance has never been stronger than it is now. Now, I'm sure I've got some eyes rolling, but before you reject my claim, I urge you to hear this. Callum Chase, a leading expert in the area of AI, makes an incredibly powerful point in his book, The Economic Singularity. He says that if someone were to place a drop of water in the middle of Wembley Stadium, then a minute later places 2 drops, then a minute later 4, and so on, at that rate, it would take just 49 minutes for the whole of the stadium to be filled with water. But what is more shocking is the fact that after 45 minutes, the stadium is only 7% full. The water is barely noticeable. But only 4 minutes later, everyone would have drowned underwater. A lovely story, but the truth is that this is the rate at which technology is moving, an alarming rate. So what doom awaits us? Perhaps the classical world has already provided us with a solution, unraveled our fate. This is a question that many have looked into, perhaps no more so than classic scholar Adrienne Mayor in her book Gods and Robots, and polymath Stephen Fry. But who was the first to imagine the potential of technology? Ideas of creating artificial life can be traced back to before the Hellenistic period. In fact, we see them ingrained in Greek mythology. Through these myths, distinctions between what is made and born begin to emerge. And in this talk, I will take 3 examples from the ancient world and suggest what we can learn from each among their many interpretations. So let's begin with the story of Prometheus the Titan. Zeus orders Prometheus to create man. Prometheus, as a gift for his creation, steals fire from Mount Olympus. With this gift, humans have independence, strength, safety, technological advancement. With this gift, humans no longer need to rely on the gods. And with this gift, Zeus is furious. The gods no longer have power. So he inflicts upon Prometheus the most wretched punishment imaginable. For eternity, Prometheus is chained to a cliffside, and every day an eagle rips out his liver, leaving it to regrow for the next day. Well, I suppose we're all feeling rather guilty now. The poor man has to have his liver ripped out every day just so that you have the fire to cook your dinner tonight. But Prometheus was aware that his actions would result in his demise. Yet he was still willing to suffer for the sake of humanity, his beloved creation. So does this make him good or bad? Well, he is remembered as a tragic hero, his story an example of aspiration to innovate overreaching and its devastating consequences. We can draw parallels between the fire that Prometheus gave to humans and the knowledge and power that we are giving to technology. Are we acting irresponsibly by giving too much independence and power to machines? Governments around the world are racing to establish laws to regulate AI. But the story of Prometheus has in fact always been relevant, so much so that we see iterations of it in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, subtitled The Modern Prometheus. Frankenstein too strives for technological innovation, and his overreaching also brings about his demise. The story of Prometheus doesn't end there. Zeus is still fuming, and so, to bring back balance to humanity, currently too advantaged, he orders Hephaestus, god of creation and innovation, to create Pandora. Her name, Pandora, meaning all-giving. She is the image of human perfection, but she's not the kind of woman you'd want to mess with. In fact, Hesiod describes her with the oxymoron kalon kakon, meaning a good evil. Pandora is made, not born, and the gods give her all kinds of gifts. Importantly among them is a jar, not a box, containing the 7 evils of the world. She's told not to open it, but curiosity cannot be contained. And she opens the lid, unleashing strife, death, disease, violence, jealousy, hatred. But one thing does remain: hope. So what does this have to do with technology? Is curiosity good or bad? The story of Pandora is, like Prometheus, one of duality, a warning of the tightrope we must balance on to avoid falling into the realm of technological disaster, a place where the power of knowledge has been subverted. But unfortunately, I fear the jar may have been opened. With the creation of the internet in the late 80s, we found ourselves at the dawn of a brand new era, a wonderful and promising era. Computers, and therefore people across the world, would be able to connect with each other like never before. We would have access to more information than we could possibly ever digest. And through social media, we could stay in touch with friends, make new ones. But in this way, the internet was Pandora's jar. The lid came off and out flew abuse, threat, discrimination, deepfakes, scams. We are still in the early stages of AI, but the story may go the same way. Something so perfect, so revolutionary, so helpful to humanity may end up a threat to us. So, how does technology present itself in the ancient world? Well, my final story is the story of Talos from around 700 BC. Talos is a bronze giant created by Hephaestus from earlier. He has superhuman strength and is powered by the lifeblood of the gods, Ichor. He has one role, that is to protect the island of Crete. That was until Medea arrived. Medea realized that Talos had a massive bolt sticking out of his ankle, his only vulnerability, and offered Talos immortality in exchange for the bolt. Talos is unaware of his mechanical makeup, and so accepts the offer. But of course, when the bolt is removed, Talos' lifeblood spills out, his downfall. Perhaps we can sympathize with Talos and his desire for eternal life. After all, what is it that defines us as humans? Perhaps it is death. But the irony is that Talos was already perfectly immortal as a machine until he began thinking and craving like a human. So is this maybe the fate that awaits AI if given self-awareness? Well, fast forward, and the issues raised in the tale of Talos persist. So much so that an entire genre is being created: science fiction. Through science fiction, paranoias of the present and fears for the future are presented. Some key examples include Lang's Metropolis and Garland's Ex Machina. But it is Scott's Blade Runner that resonates especially with the tale of Talos, delving into existential and ethical questions of creating sentient life, replicants, who grapple with their artificial nature and search for identity and freedom. Now, the Greeks haven't provided us with a solution, but we have been warned. The fire that Prometheus gave to humans was revolutionary, but also devastating. The jar that Pandora opened unleashes evil. The desire for immortality that Talos pursued proved his downfall. So I'll leave you with the following to ponder: whether we can, will, and should create certain types of technology. If we do, what will be unleashed? If things take a turn for the worst, who is to blame? In any event, we may be certain of one thing. That is, that in Pandora's jar always remains the expectation of hope.